This week, Jared sits down with associate character artist Cheyne Hessler to discuss his work on Star Citizen. Loremaker Adam Weezer tours through the Nexus System. And we escape the Javelin in this week's Fast Forward. All this and more in this week's Around the Verse.
Robot.
They made a Voltron.
Can we call it a vehicular force Voltron?
I like Lion Force better.
All right. Well, we'll see what you guys out there think. Welcome to Around the Verse, the weekly look at Star Citizen's development. I'm Sandy Gardner.
And I am not Ben Lesnick.
No, he is not Ben Lesnick, so who are you?
I am Jeremiah Lee, character concept artist here in Los Angeles studio, Cloud Imperium Games.
He has to check who he is.
And yes, Jared forced me to do this, so that's why I'm here.
That's what he has to check. He is the guy in our office, or one of the guys in our office, who has very cool stuff on his screen all the time.
Thank you.
You do. I don't know if it's yours or you just put it here. Yeah.
They don't have to know.
And unfortunately, Ben isn't with us this week. He and Alexis are on bereavement leave, so all of our thoughts here from the team are with them, and all across from all of our studios. We miss you guys, and we can't wait to have you back.
We're all thinking about you very dearly.
We are. And what is the latest on Star Citizen?
Well, the current version on the live server is Star Citizen Alpha 2.3.1, which allows access to Crusader Universe and the Hangar module in several game modes in Arena Commander.
There we go. We can tell that he's the character artist because 2.3.1 he had to look down and see what
I did.
it was.
I did. Numbers
okay.
is not my
We will forgive Jeremiah because we threw him under the bus with short notice, and he kindly obliged.
No, but this is fun.
It is fun.
Exciting.
And the team are currently working on Star Citizen Alpha 2.4, which is going to go out onto the PTU very shortly. We will keep you updated when it does come out. Very shortly, that I made it sound like it was coming tomorrow, but we will keep you updated on when it's coming. In other news, the MISC Prospector sale just ended, and it was actually a very, very popular ship. So we know now that people are interested in another profession-based ship.
Yes. I think it looks really cool. It's really great because it really looks like a MISC ship. You can see a lot of the forms of the Freelancer and also the Starfarer, and those the shapes and also the colors really reflect the Prospector. So really excited about it.
Yeah. I haven't actually gotten myself one yet, but I've got a few too many ships. Have you got any?
I have a Vanguard.
Oh, don't say it so sadly.
I know. I mean, like I haven't bought a ship lately, but there's so many ships I want to buy. But
That's okay.
yeah, the Vanguard.
need.
Can't go wrong with the Vanguard.
Also, a reminder that many of you may still have a 5% coupon sitting in your account, so maybe check your account. It is valid until the end of this month.
Do I get a $5 coupon?
$5 coupon. Is that what I said? It's a 5% coupon.
Oh my
You
God.
got me confused for a second. I was like, it's a $5 coupon? It's a 5% coupon.
5%. Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
would like one. I
Sammy.
think actually the staff get a little more than that.
Oh.
So, yeah, you should check in when Alexis comes back. With that, let's check in with our studios around the world to see what's up in news from around the verse.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Southern California. I'm Darian Borlick, production coordinator at Cloud Imperium Games Los Angeles, and today with me we have our new art director,
Josh Herman. Nice to meet you guys.
So for this week's update on Around the Verse, with the production side, we're trying to get 2.4 out the door. So we're hoping you kind of like what we've got planned for you for that release. It's looking pretty exciting on our end. But more importantly, I wanted to give a chance for Josh to debut his first on-screen camera appearance. He's been, what, 2-3 days now?
This is my third day. Yeah.
So give him a little quick update on what he's up to.
Yeah. So I'm the new character art director here. I'm just basically going to wrangle all the characters, all the different types of things from the Squadron 42 stuff to the PU universe. Just really kind of wrapping my head around things right now. I moved over from Marvel Studios, and there's a bunch of stuff to kind of ingest and work through. But we've been working through all the different famous actor heads, and we've been just pushing forward on all the different alien races, and really looking forward to getting into more of a little bit of everything, really. Yeah.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, me too.
So that's it from Los Angeles. Once again, I'm Darian Borlick.
I'm Josh Herman.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, Jake Ross here, producer of the Austin Studio, and I want to talk with you this week a little bit about what's going on here in Austin. So first off, we're talking about 2.4.0. We are in furious bug fixing mode for that. We still have a few more blockers left open before we can get it out to PTU, but we're looking to get it into your guys' hands here pretty soon. We're itching to get some of this new stuff we've been working on out to you. So we're working as fast as we can to get these blockers fixed, and then we'll get those out to you here pretty soon. So that's 2.4.0, and we have let's see, what else are we working on? Port modification. So we've talked a little bit about port modification in the past, but we want to talk a little bit about some of the design stuff we're looking at doing in Crusader. So we've talked about port modification in the hangar, but we want to actually get that app out into Crusader as well. So Rob Reiniger is fleshing out the initial design for that. He's going to be passing that off to Carl Jones in the UK, and our lead systems designer. So Rob right now though is working on kind of what we want to see for first release of port modification. So we want players to be able to go out after they summon their ship to the landing pad in Port Olisar, and we want them to be able to walk up to the ship, modify the ports on the ship, and get swap out weapons and components and things like that. We want to make sure that other players can't come up to your ship and modify the ports on the ship. Like we only want the ship's owner to be able to actually modify the ports. So that's something we're working on. We want to make sure that at least for first release, you can't actually modify any of the ports unless the ship is landed in a landed state, and only on a landing pad. So we're going to restrict it pretty heavily for first release just so we can test it, make sure it's working all right, and then we'll kind of expand the functionality after that. So that's for the port modification in Crusader. We're also working on the design for purchasing via a terminal or kiosk. So I've talked a little bit about shopping in general is usually via item by item. So if the shop can handle it, we put the items on the shelves and the racks themselves, and you can actually go up and interact with those items individually. But for things like ship components, ship weapons, the ships themselves that are too big, way too big to fit into one shop, we have a kiosk terminal that we're working on. So we're fleshing out that design so that when you go up to a terminal. You can pull it up, all the inventory's there, and you can purchase things that way. So have a couple different options for different commodities. Similar in real life, where not every shopping experience is exactly the same. So that's in the works right now. Last but not least, we're going to talk about animation implementation. So our animators here in Austin have a slew of animations that they've done over the past couple of years. Unfortunately, our resources on the implementation side, that is like a technical animator, technical designer, that can actually help the animators themselves put the animations in the game, has been kind of lacking just for lack of resource or prioritization conflicts and things like that. So we're finally getting some support on that end, so that we can kind of ramp up the rate at which we get these animations in game. So excited about that. We're gonna have a technical animator start in the LA office here pretty soon that will help support the Austin animators. We have a couple of resources in Frankfurt that are helping out as well. So and we're excited about that, so we can get some more animations in the game and in you guys' hands. So so you can kind of see the hard work the animators have been doing here in Austin. Yeah, that's my update for this week, guys. Thanks, and I'll see you around.
Hi everyone, this is Mickey over in the UK. So this week we've been working on a few of the ships that are going into Squadron 42 and the PU eventually. So we've been focusing on the Javelin, the Aegis and the Bengal, which are all big capital ships, so that's pretty exciting. We've also been looking at the Argo and the Reliant and the Starfarer, which I think I mentioned in a previous video. So they're all being tested now and making sure they're all flight ready and everything. As for bug fixing for 2.4, we've been mainly looking at the shopping element that's going in. So there's going to be a lot of shops that are around Port Al-Azhar and the Art Corp, and you'll be able to buy new flight suits and new weapons and casual clothes. We've got a store called Castlebar Outlet, which is all casual clothes, and then you've got Garrity Defense, which is like new flight suits, and you can buy light armor and stuff. And then there's a few other weapon places. There's Cubby Blast and Live. I forget what that one's called. Live Fire Weapons, I think, is the other one. But yeah, that's pretty exciting, and you'll be able to earn cash for doing comms arrays. So you can use that cash to buy things, and we're testing the persistence as well, so you should always keep the money you've earned and the things that you've bought and everything. So that's all being tested right now. And as for Squadron 42, we have the shoot going on right now, and they are working on the conversation system that's going in, and basically just fine-tuning any FPS and AI stuff that needs to be done. And I think that's it, so I'll see you in the verse. Bye!
Hey everyone, Brian from the Frankfurt office here again this week. I typically roll down each department, but figure I've been doing that the same week after week after week. So this week I brought in Greg. That's not his real name. It's harder to pronounce, so he says Greg is cool. He is the newest member of the system design department. How long have you been here now?
It's gonna be 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I know we've been interviewing other guys as well too.
Yeah,
so
we did.
We may grow a little bit more soon.
We grow next month by 2 people, I think. So
Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to pass it to Greg. Greg will chat and let you know what he's been working on here and what he's been doing with the rest of the team.
Sure. So my focus personally has been on Inner Thought, which is basically our use system. That's what's going to replace the blue use that you have right now in the game with more contextual information. Like when you open a door, it's actually going to be open. When you I don't know, look out the window, it's going to be look. When you're looting stuff, it's going to be pick up. When you're talking to someone, it might even be the line that you're going to say.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of a unified system that's going to be used for a lot of stuff in the game. It's just that so you guys see it in the game and know that it's going to be an interaction happening, and it's always going to be the same. So it's going to be exploitable.
Yeah.
Stuff, right?
Now, right now, is it primarily on paper that you guys are sorting all the details out on?
Yeah, it's. I think some premises of it are being worked on for 2.4.
Okay.
But really super early stuff. Most
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it is prototype stage.
Absolutely.
So-
Now, are you guys working with Francesco and the AI guys then? And
I'm actually working a little bit with Francesco because some of it is using usable object, right, which he's handling, which is going to be the same for player and AI. So the structure of the object has to be able to be read by AI code, but also by the player, right?
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Yeah, and also I guess I'm syncing a lot with UK right now because the interactor code and all this kind of stuff has defaulted. I think it's David Gill, Bone, working on it right now, and I'm syncing with him basically day-to-day basis just to see what's happening.
How is that? Because I get a lot of questions at times of all the offices working together. And some people are like, oh, is it hard? Is it easy? Is it?
It's different, but I'd say there's good and bad points. Like in everything. When I drop a bug in the evening and I get it solved when I come back in the morning, that's awesome.
That is good, yeah.
And with UK, it's basically like Skyping all the time, but it's kind of the same as having them close. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I see it myself as an extension of they might as well be sitting in the same office, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, and seeing as we're nerds anyway, we don't really like to talk to people for real. So,
hey, he said it, not me. Okay.
I'm owning it.
Cool. How's your time been here so far? It's not only in Frankfurt, but with the company in general.
It's been a ride. I mean, a lot of stuff to get used to, a lot of documentation to go through, and a lot of directive to actually assimilate, so I can actually make decisions and calls from design standpoint that go into the direction that the company and CR really wants to go in.
Yeah.
So, but now I feel like I'm hitting my stride, and it's getting pretty good.
That's cool. I know you guys have amassed a crazy amount of detail in your documentation, and I think we're just now starting to get things a little more mature on the tech end with tools and AI and all that for you guys to actually start progressing and seeing these things.
It's good to see that some of the edge case that we kind of theorized before are actually coming into play, so we have solutions for them.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and we're still working on documentation a lot. So
awesome. Cool. I am going to shut up because I'm going to run late and everyone will make fun of me. But thanks again for all the support. Thanks for watching, and we'll try to bring somebody in new next week. Cool. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.
This says I'm supposed to say something about the new clips, but I haven't seen them yet.
Okay, we'll just pretend.
Oh, okay. All my character art is approved, and I'm getting a bonus.
Well, I'm not your boss, so I can't make comment on that. Up next is our community manager, Jared Huckabee, who sits down with associate character artist Cheyne Hessler to discuss his work in this week's ATV interview. Take it away, guys.
Shane, your character art's approved, and you're getting a bonus.
He's just dying to say that.
Yes, it was.
Thanks, guys. On this week's ATV interview, we're sitting down with associate character artist, Mr. Cheyne Hessler. Shane, how you doing, man?
Good, doing great.
Now, associate character artist. What's that? What's an associate character artist?
Associate character artist helps the character team develop character assets for the game, whether it's costumes or props or armor. So anything that your character or player wears in the game, I'll be working on that.
All right. And what are you working on now?
Currently, I'm working on the R-Side jetpack that a lot of the players will use to move around in space.
Gotcha. Now, this is part of the developing item port system. We're taking all the different pieces of everybody's costume and breaking them into their individual components.
Exactly.
So the character now has a jetpack of sorts, and this is what will replace that.
Yeah, we're making it more up to date, more sci-fi, and make it a lot cooler.
Gotcha. Now, you've been with the company for what, 2 months now?
About 2 months, since early March.
March? How are you liking it so far?
Like it a lot. Getting to work on a lot of cool stuff. No holding back on what I get to work on, so it's pretty cool to be able to jump onto the team and basically work on everything.
You were going that first or second day. I remember it's like, this is Shane, he's new. You get the email and here's your picture, and you're like,
Yeah,
whatever.
first day.
And then I walk by and you're already, hip deep and stuff. So
Yeah, first day was interesting because we have to do all the paperwork, but I'm eager to get started on my first project. And I know coming in the first day, talking to Jeremiah what my concept art I was going to be working off was. So the whole first day I was just like, all right, let's get started, let's do this. So it's pretty exciting.
Jeremiah is actually hosting this episode of ATV. So
Oh, really?
say hi to Jeremiah. Hi, Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah.
Doing a good job, man. So you came to us 2 months ago. Where'd you come from?
Before I came to Cloud Imperium, I was doing some freelance work for companies making toys for Disney, and then also working with scan data cleanup for commercials and TV.
Scan data cleanup.
Yeah.
What's that?
So essentially what we did for our game, for all of our actors, with scan data and photogrammetry. So you take pictures of the actor asset, and that gets scanned into the computer, creating a digital form of 3D that, for my job, was to clean that data up and then reproject textures on it so it could be used in production.
Oh, all right, cool. And
Simple answer.
Gotcha. Now, are you a gamer by choice? Did you play video games before?
I was
what makes
forced
you
to
work
be
in
a
that?
gamer, no.
Yeah, what makes you decide I want to work in the video game industry?
I've been playing games like a lot of people at an early age, just transitioning through the generations of consoles of Nintendo, Sega Genesis, PlayStation, all the way up to right now is PC is kind of my main thing. PC, what was that? PC Master Race. But it's just easy because if I am working on anything at home, I could just play a game real quick and then jump back to doing some work. So it's great.
Hey, what games are you playing now?
Currently, don't get to play as many games as I used to.
Yes, it's one of the truths of working in the video game industry. The more you work on a video game, the less video games you actually
I thought
play.
working in the gaming industry, I'd play more video games.
Not the case.
But playing some Hearthstone and Overwatch right now. I'm big fighting game guy, so I play a lot of Street Fighter V. But yeah, a lot of competitive multiplayer games usually. I could jump on, jump off.
Yeah, I see you.
Continue my life.
See you at lunch sometimes with Elle, and you guys are battling in your Hearthstone. So
Whenever we can.
Who's a better Hearthstone player, you or Elwin?
Oh man, I don't know. I think it's like 50-50 now. I win some, he wins some, but I think right now, since the new expansion came out, he's probably better than me.
What?
I think Jeremiah might be better than me too.
Jeremiah's pretty
That's why we need to do in-house tournaments, so we can set the record straight on who's the best Hearthstone player.
All right, we'll see about setting that up once we're done here. So, associate character artist, what's the path on that? Associate character artist, then character artist, then when are you going to be a character artist? Come on. Are you not good enough to be a character
Well,
artist?
hopefully, I believe I'm in a probational period. No one really told me.
Yeah. We had to wait before we could.
Yeah.
We had to wait before we could interview. So know that if you're here doing an interview, you're doing a good job. So
Yes.
good job, man.
That's awesome.
Good job, man.
I feel good. No one's yelled at me really, so that's awesome.
Hey, do you know what you're working on next after the jetpack?
I believe I'm working on a BDU engineer for Squadron 42.
Nice.
So I know there's a lot of work to be done, so it's exciting.
Oh yeah, I saw that thing, the one you had with the turntable. It was really good.
Oh yeah,
That was
I
really
actually first got to see my first thing I've done in Engine lit and animated, so
Yeah.
that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
You spend like hours and hours on working on an asset, and then and then you see it in game, so it's pretty cool.
If you don't
I was gonna
hear that-
ask if you use Waze.
Yeah, Hennessy's Waze out. He's wazing how to get to little
How do
Caesars
I-
for lunch.
how do I
now.
get out of here?
Hennessy is already done with this.
He's
interview.
gone.
He's already halfway to Little Caesars. All right, so all right, we went off the rails there. Oh my God, Hennessy's phone. Be quiet. I was going to ask you about how cool was it to see Chris Roberts, commenting and thing. This is awesome.
Oh yeah,
this is
yeah.
amazing.
It's always good to hear because Chris has a say in everything we do to move forward and be able to put into the game. So when he says it looks good or he's impressed or it feels good.
It does.
Yeah.
It's never happened to me yet, but I imagine it feels great.
When the game comes out and everyone likes it, I'll be like, good job, Jared.
Yeah. No. All right, man. We'll let you go. Somebody's got a pizza to pick up, apparently. Cheyne Hessler, associate character artist here. I was about to say Foundry 42 Los Angeles. I'm thinking about that pizza now. Cloud Imperium Games Los Angeles.
Papa John's.
Thanks for taking the time. No.
Thanks a lot.
Back to you guys, Sandy and Jeremiah.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam Weezer and I will be the host of this week's Loremakers Guide to the Galaxy. For those who haven't seen this before, it's a segment where the various Loremakers on Star Citizen sit down, walk you through a particular system, give you a little bit of the history, a little bit of the science data behind why it is the way it is. So this week we're going to be talking about a pretty interesting system because it is technically a UEE system, but for those who live there, both on both sides of the law, there's pretty strong agreement that the UEE doesn't have full control of it. So this week we are going to go and check out the Nexus system. So to do that, we're just going to hit / here on the star map, so you can bring up the search bar, and we're going to put in Nexus. There we go. And here we will travel from Sol to the Nexus system. So we're going to do a broad overview to start. This is a 5-planet system that has an asteroid belt here between Nexus 3 and Nexus 4. At the center of this system is a, wow, that's a very, very close-in zoom we got here. This is a Type A main sequence star that is bluish-white in color, and just so you know, it's about 1.8 times larger in solar mass than the sun at the center of our own system. But to really kind of, just kind of set the table for what Nexus is, I want to start by talking about Nexus 2. Now, Nexus 2 right here, this is a terrestrial smog planet. So it's got this very thick and soupy atmosphere, which kind of gives off this really interesting glow. I don't think the skin color on this is going to be the actual color in the game, but we'll see about that. But this atmosphere is going to glow a little bit because of something that's a part of it called aerosols. And aerosols are basically, solids and liquid particles that are in a gas or in the the case of Nexus 2 in the upper atmosphere of this planet. Now, you're familiar with aerosols because, when they get big enough, they draw your attention to them. Think of a hazy, smoggy day. Think of that red hue you see on the horizon during sunrises and sunsets. Those are all because aerosols are absorbing and scattering light because they've gotten big enough while up there in the atmosphere. Now, why this makes sense for the Nexus system is because prior to 2930, this entire system was basically, even though UEE in name, was basically a pirate free-for-all. And it wasn't until Keller's run in 2930 that the UEE actually saw how big of a pirate problem was in the system and what needed to be done to kind of like put a stop to that. Now, Dean Keller was a lifelong criminal. He was an assassin for various pirate crews. He was a very, very skilled pilot. And on May 20th of 2930, he shot an undercover UEE agent in a Cathcart bar. What proceeded from there was a 5-system run he went on with the UEE advocacy in pursuit, which kind of culminated here in the Nexus system. Now, what really shocked the UEE advocacy was that they came into this UEE system hoping that they could finally corner him, only to see the pirate clans there not back down from their presence, but actually kind of come at them while they were there. And that was shocking for them. The advocacy wasn't even the group that finally ended Keller's run. It was a civilian by the name of Anna Flynn who finally, did the last shot that took him down. After seeing the spectacle on the spectrum, she joined the hunt to end Keller's run and wound up with the big bounty she got for making the most famous probably catch in bounty history. Once again, that happened in 2930. It's right now 2946 in the UEE. And by all accounts, even by the UEE's own account, this system is still not fully within their control. There's still a very heavy pirate presence here. And part of the reason to understand why this is happening is if we go out to the bigger view here. So Nexus only has 4 jump points into it. They're all access. I'll turn all these on so you can see there's a medium and they're the small, but still Nexus only has 4. And out of those 4, 3 of them, as you can see, are unclaimed systems with that probably see a lot of unlawful activity in them. So it's very hard for the UEE, even to this day, to control the pirates and other unlawful people coming in and out of this system. As you can also see here, Nexus got its name because it does sit at the center of these pirate systems. And that's one of the other rumors that kind of went around, was that the UEE pushing hard to reclaim the Nexus system was less about Keller's run, and it was more about the strength of Cathcart and the strength of Nexus as pirate havens, that they might actually start their own independent government. There were rumblings of this in the underworld at the time. And so some believe the UE actually pushed into the Nexus system to be able to break up this little swarm of pirate systems so they didn't have a completely uncontrolled neighborhood in the UEE that they had nothing to do with. So, of course, the real question is, how did this even start? Now, Nexus was discovered a long time ago. It was discovered back in 2445 by a UNE Navy pilot by the name of Dominic Thappa. Now, Dominic Thappa actually found this system from Cathcart. So let me back up here so you can see this again. So he actually came in from Cathcart, which you see is an unclaimed system, but in the 25th century was actually a military classified system. So the military had the system. That's how they found this jump to go to Nexus. But they also had an issue. If this was a military classified system, how do you get civilians, how do you get citizens into Nexus without going through this part of space that you don't want them to go through? So for the first 20 plus years of the UNE, of the Nexuses being known to humanity, this was known simply as the military designation, which is UDS 2445309, just the discovery date UDS. And the military came on in and they decided, okay, well, if we don't want to let anyone get here, let's see what we can do with it. So what they did with it is they set up their operation, the main operation here on Nexus 3, which is a naturally habitable planet, so the perfect place to set up their operations. We come out here, they also started to terraform Lago, because Lago is has a ton of minerals and resources on it, so they began the terraforming process there. And then let's go back to Nexus 2, the place we started, that I thought was so interesting. This, like I said, is a smog planet, so it's got a very thick, soupy atmosphere. That atmosphere is actually made out of nitrogen. It's a majority nitrogen atmosphere, which is not all that common. In our solar system, Earth has a majority nitrogen atmosphere, and the only other one that's like that is Titan, a moon of one of the moons of Saturn. So this being the 25th century, this being humanity's first starting to strike out into the universe, they figured, well, let's see if we can possibly terraform this smog planet to make it human habitable. And they dropped a lot of money into doing this. Unfortunately, nothing they did stuck. And what they did do is they did rack up big budget deficits, terraforming this planet, terraforming Lago, having this entire system that unfortunately they weren't quite really getting any resources out of yet. So with the universalist-led government at the time in the UEE realizing that they were in some serious budgetary constraints, they had kind of a brilliant idea. Once again, we can't just let anyone and everyone pass through Cathcart, pass through this classified system to come visit Nexus. So they decided to sell the entire system to one company. Now, some of you, this may sound familiar because this was actually a strategy the UEE government would use a few hundred years later in the Stanton system. Instead of selling the entirety of the Stanton system, they sold each specific planet to a corporation as a way to raise funds for the government. So this is where it all started, in Nexus. And so in 2468, the Hathor group bought Nexus from the UNE and basically moved in and brought in their own contractors to start the mining process. Now, much like the UNE, they set up the main operations here on Nexus 3, and they started to work the El Cibre asteroid belt here, which is just chock full of resources. They also, I'm going to swing this around, started to really strip mine Lago. Because remember, this was a company that had spent a lot of money on this entire system. They weren't worried about building up civilian infrastructure or anything like that. They just wanted the most efficient way in which to extract these ores and these minerals from this planet. And that was literally just strip mining them away. So over the next 200 years, this system wasn't really known as Nexus. It was known as Hathor because of the company that owned it. At that time also, a few things happened which seemed to affect the fate of Nexus. We're going to go back out to the wide view here. First, the Cathcart system, which was military classified, the UEE walked away from. They decided they didn't need it anymore, that it wasn't going to be of any benefit to them, so they left. And a pirate presence, a very strong unlawful presence, started to move in and turn Cathcart into the system we know it as today. Within that 200-year period also, these 3 other jumps were discovered into Nexus, which meant now there were new routes or new ways for people or pirates to get into this system. So for those 200 years while Hathor ruled this, there were really only 2 businesses that were functional in this system: the Hathor Mining Group and criminality, people coming in to drink and gamble with the miners that were working this system. Eventually, in 2672, the Hathor group looked at their books and they realized they'd ripped out most of the resources on Lago, they'd kind of depleted the El Cibre belt, and the money they were spent protecting shipments in and out of this system finally exceeded any of the profits they were making here. So the Hathor group just left. They were done with it. They had gotten what they needed out of it, and they turned it over completely to the pirates. So at that point, in the late 27th century into the 28th century, is when the pirate presence in Nexus really grew. That's where it got the name Nexus, for being a nexus of jump points connecting pirate systems. That brings us up to 2930. That presence only grew until Keller's run in 2930, where the UEE finally decided to push back in and try to reestablish their authority in the system. So now that you kind of have an understanding of the complicated and tumultuous history of the system, let's get back into a little more details on what's actually here. So Nexus 1 is a rocky protoplanet that you can see is extremely close to the, well, it's close to the star. Again, these aren't quite to scale, but you can tell by the distance that it's been charred thoroughly. Hathor Group did do their due diligence, and they checked and they made sure that there were no resources of anything worthwhile on this planet to mine. Nexus 2 we talked about, that's your terrestrial smog planet. Once again, right now there's nothing to really do there. You can't live there. Nexus 3, as I mentioned before, was naturally habitable, so it became the main base for basically every group that kind of had control over the Nexus system. It's where the UNE first established their operations. It's where the Hathor Group central kind of like mining command was all based here. And after they left, it is where the pirates immediately moved in to kind of like, some of the main pirate groups were based here too. So in 2930, when the UEE decided to retake this system, this planet, Nexus 3, is where they primarily focused to start. So once they pushed the pirates off this planet, they basically turned this into central command for the system, and it still is that to this day. It is a military classified planet, so when you visit Nexus System, unless you have the proper clearance codes, please do not go anywhere near this planet because they will not take kindly to it. The next thing in the system to really talk about is, you'll see rimmed here, is the El Cibre asteroid belt. Again, it was filled with minerals and ores which the Hathor Group mined away, but recent advances in scanning technology have revealed that there are pockets of really valuable minerals and ores here that hadn't been discovered before. So it's another one of the conspiracy theories out there about the Nexus system, is the UEE wanted to push back in, not because of the pirate presence, but to ensure that they had access to these valuable minerals and ores here in the El Cibre belt. This belt was also the location for probably the most famous moment in Keller's run. After spending hours kind of like dodging in, around asteroids and kind of like killing pursuers, Dean Keller had to make an emergency landing inside an asteroid to do some repairs on his ship. Now, when he did this, a bunch of bounty hunters surrounded that asteroid and kind of covered every exit out. And began to negotiate his surrender with them. Now, while he was negotiating with them, he also was EVAing out of the asteroid and sneaking up on one of the bounty hunter ships. He got inside, he threw the bounty hunter out of the airlock, and then took his ship, turned it on the other bounty hunters, and continued on his way. So that very exciting event happened right here in the El Cibre asteroid belt. So we're going to step back and go to Nexus 4, which is known by Lago. Now, Lago is a name which came from a 26th century vid about a pirate paradise. So again, this came later on at the Hathor Group left. This became known as Lago based on that 26th century vid. That's how it earned this name, and the UEE just hasn't been able to shake it. The real battle for the Nexus system is centered right here on Lago for one main reason, and that's because the Hathor Group strip mined the surface, which means the pirates are really, really embedded. There are a lot of encampments embedded into the planet side here. It was a lot easier to clean out Nexus 3. Lago has been a lot more difficult. So as the UEE has made small strides in kind of pushing the pirates off this planet, they are trying to figure out ways to hold that land and maybe start to make it habitable for respectable UEE citizens and civilians. They decided to do this by offering sweetheart land deals to people in the military, because again, Nexus 3 has a big military contingent, so they've offered family members and extended family of the military deals to come in and live here. So you can visit Lago 3. The encampments there are still pretty small. They do have what you need. They do have Kasaba outlets. They'll have bars. They'll have advocacy agents. They'll have all those things. They're still just going to be heavily fortified because pirate attacks still do happen pretty frequently on this planet. Also, if you're an entrepreneurial hauler that's looking to maybe make a little bit extra on some basic goods, this might be a good place to take it. That is, if you're willing to accept the risk of even venturing into the Nexus system in the first place. And finally, the last planet here in the system is a gas giant called the Red God. Now, I warn you, this is not to scale. This is way too small for what it should be. But you get the idea. I'll zoom in a little bit. So again, this is just a gas giant on the, past the green band here in the Nexus system. It's got a reddish hue, a reddish color to the atmosphere, which is how it earned the nickname the Red God by it is believed a cryptic group of pirates based on Lago by the name of the Sangestas actually worship this planet and called it their Red God. And their worship of this planet and their affiliation to it is what kind of earned it this name, which is stuck to this day. So that's it for the Nexus system. You've got, again, 5 planets, star at the center, this one asteroid belt, and an ongoing battle between pirates and the UEE. For anyone out there that's interested in this game, this could be a pretty fun place to go and explore and see what kind of trouble you can get into or how you can help. So thanks again. My name's Adam Weezer, and this has been another episode of Loremaker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Hello again, Tyler Witkin, Community Manager in the Austin, Texas studio, here to bring you this week's MVP. This week we have not 1, not 2, but 3 MVPs for the epic video Journey to Voltron, which features some exciting and emergent gameplay in Star Citizen. So a big congratulations to Anarchos and Jeff Craig for gathering all of this footage and putting it together, and Wikipedia for producing his own song Journey to accompany it. First we had Big Benny's Deliveries, then we had Bowling with Ships, now we have Journey to Voltron. I'm looking forward to seeing what the community comes up with next. Congrats again, guys. You all are this week's MVPs. Back to you guys.
I still think Line Force Voltron's better. But congrats on the MVP.
Congrats on the MVP, and thanks, Tyler. Each week we take a look ahead at something in Star Citizen's development. So let's take a look at this week's ATV Fast Forward.
Be sure to tune in to Verse to Verse tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific on Twitch.
Yay, will you be there?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Well, on
promise.
Reverse the Verse?
I promise.
All right. Okay,
I
we
have
will
to
have
be here.
Jeremiah Lee answering all of your character concept questions that he can't talk about. Do you like ATV and you'd like to show us? Hit subscribe below and like us. It has actually helped with our numbers because we just hit 200,000 YouTube subscribers.
Yay!
And we will maybe do something a little special when we think of something a little special.
Ooh.
And as always, thank you to all of our subscribers for making this show possible. We will see you next week on Around the Verse. Yay. Did you know that many of Star Citizen's developers are on social media? If you would like to follow Star Citizen on Facebook, you can find us here.
Or on Twitter, here.
And even Instagram here.
And for a full list of developers' personal accounts they're willing to share with the community, check out this link. You can find out what I bought at Amazon this week.
Star Wars stuff.
It was probably Star Wars stuff. Whoa. That was pro.